Hi, Gerhard Bloom. Let's look at the question of systemic oppression. Perhaps it's just ideological nonsense. Yes it is. Oh, but the achievement gap, the lower income, higher incarceration, employment levels. Well, it's not systemic oppression or the legacy of Jim Crow or slavery. That is ideological nonsense. The data proves otherwise. Before the era of welfare entitlements, Lyndon Johnson's Great Society program, the Black family was a very strong and stable institution. This is a fact. There were slightly less broken families, single-parent families in the Black community than in the white community. They were almost the same, slightly less in the Black family. Slightly less single-parent families. The single parenthood rate in the white community now is about 25%. In the Black community, it is over 70%. And there's a disastrous cascading effect of single parenthood. Poverty, crime, you name it. The greatest predictor of poverty, single parenthood, right? These kids aren't being brought up in a stable family with mom and a dad to care for them. This is a fact. Blacks, before Lyndon Johnson's Great Society program, a leftist dream of rescuing Black people, Blacks were closing the wealth gap. They were closing the wealth gap. This is before the Civil Rights Revolution, right? Which was a wonderful event, too long in coming. But this is in the era of Jim Crow, massive discrimination. Blacks were closing the wealth gap. The Black community at that time valued education, and they had to work very hard at getting education for their children. But they did, and they were succeeding. And after these leftist policies, the Black family eroded. Single parenthood went through the roof. School achievement became denigrated as acting white. I had a conversation with a Nigerian American woman, about a week ago. I was explaining to her that, Black kids in American schools will get beat up by other Black kids if they're doing well in school. She says, oh, I know all about it. I had to move my son, who's Black, out of a school and move to a white neighborhood so her son could get properly educated without being bullied. He's a doctor today. This young man is a doctor and Black. And notice I mentioned Nigerian. This is important later. So the Black family, utterly eroded. School achievement is now acting white. Black crime also exploded. And then, as now, the vast majority of victims of Black crime are Black. The number one cause of death to a young Black man is death by a young Black man. This is a fact. So Blacks, yes, they're vastly overrepresented in violent criminal activity. This is a fact. And yes, it's an unpleasant fact, and it's not racist to say so. There is a deep cultural problem in the Black inner city. And so are teenage pregnancies and school dropouts. And of course, you don't think this is going to affect income or incarceration rates? You'd have to be a fool to think otherwise. And yes, leftists actually pretend to believe this nonsense. And Biden, he is parroting this poisonous BLM cultural Marxist ideology. Biden, in 2019, systemic racism built into every aspect of our system. This is Joe Biden. It is utter nonsense. He does not believe that for a moment. He does not believe it because it's too stupid to be believed. Although my Prime Minister, Trudeau, he is the parade clown for this leftist ideology. He is a true believer. And yes, he is stupid. And it's no accident that he's a former teacher, school teacher. The teachers' colleges been turning young, bright minds, otherwise young, bright minds, into cultural Marxist fascists. I mentioned Nigerians. Nigerian immigrants, very Black indeed, they out-earn on average white Americans, and their kids do better in school. This is a fact. They're Black, out-earn and outperform the average American white family. Indian, Chinese, Korean, Japanese also, on average, out-earn American whites, and their kids do better in school. So maybe this oppression narrative is just toxic ideological nonsense. No, there's no maybe about it. It is poisonous ideological nonsense. And now we are admitting underqualified black students into Ivy League universities, into medical schools. This is awful. It is awful. And it sends exactly the wrong message to young black academics. They need to work hard to do well and succeed. And a great many of them have. Great many of them have. I hope you'll check out my book, Deconstructing Social Justice. It's available on Amazon. Not important because I wrote it. I wrote it because the issues could not be more important. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.